Thank you for downloading this RealAgriculture podcast. Excite your crops with inputs from Excite Bio. Access nitrogen and phosphorus with Excite Bio's lineup of inoculants and ag biologicals. Since 2010, they've been helping farmers harness the power of the soil. Learn more at excitebio.ca. That's XITEBIO.ca.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 at Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. Also, a big shout out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. You heard the crowd. They are loud. They are full of vigor, to use the seed term, and they're having a great time. And we are at Farm Management Canada's Ag X Conference in Abbotsford, British Columbia. It is fantastic and a great crowd here. I think well over 250 people are in attendance talking about a very critical topic, farm management. And today we've got a panel of 3 farmers from British Columbia, and they're going to talk about some of their opportunities, some of their challenges, their outlook for the year ahead. Really cool stories of all 3 of them. A little bit different than, talking about corn and soybeans and maybe pulses. We're going to talk about dairy and eggs and greenhouses today, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, if you have any feedback on today's show, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the social media platforms. You're also more than welcome to call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147. If you're in the crowd here, don't dial the number, just put up your hand. We'll do that. Like I said, farm management, critical topic. I think this is one of the ones when it comes to not only financial knowledge, but just managing the farm of today. It is critical. It is critical that we're continuing to work on our farm management skills, similar to how we would work on our crop marketing, livestock marketing, or agronomic skills. And we've seen over the years in some of our Real Agri Studies research that we're not doing as much as that as we possibly, maybe we should, or we could be doing. And I know it's not, talking about numbers sometimes isn't as interesting about talking about cows in the barn, but it is an area that really can make a difference. And in today's world where, there's variables in your control, but more importantly, variables out of your control, how you manage that actual business is really going to make the difference between whether you're here today or gone tomorrow, which would be quite unfortunate. We need as many people in this agricultural tent as we possibly can. We don't want to lose people to this industry because I could have managed the business better. There's things we could have done about that. So that's what we're here to do today with Farm Management Canada at the Ag X Conference. If you've never been here before, you should be coming in the future. I think next year's meeting, I'm not sure where, it's in the prairies, I think. And so if you get it on your calendar, it's always around this time of the year. It's a fantastic conference. Whether you're in Canada or maybe some of our American listeners as well, you're welcome to come north. The dollar is much in your favor, so we will take your U.S. dollars and have you up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got Stuart Person from MNP joining us. He's a board member with Farm Management Canada. We're going to talk about the organization, what they're doing, and a little bit about the landscape in front of us from a farm management perspective. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
I'm Lindsay Smith. Joining me with Genesis Fertilizers, Terry Draboot. So thinking about where things are priced from, but also where things potentially travel from, how does Genesis Fertilizers' proposed model address the logistical challenges?
There is very little product that comes from NOLA that hits Canada, mainly Ontario and Manitoba. NOLA is New Orleans, Louisiana, as I suspect most would know that. But if it does, it comes from the river, Mississippi, up to, say, St. Louis, into a transfer terminal terminal into a rail car into a distribution house in Canada and then distributed to retails. So lots of touch points and lots of costs. Genesis Fertilizers plans on building one plant, and that one plant is for Western Canadian farmers. Not only would the investors be entitled to the fertilizer that we produce, they would also profit from the fertilizer plant.
For anyone who's interested, how Genesis Fertilizers plans to deliver this, where can they go?
The best place is our website, genesisfertilizers.com.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomists, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM, and we're at the Farm Management Canada meeting, AgX as they call it. We're in Abbotsford, British Columbia. Beautiful area of Canada. If you have never been to Abbotsford before, well, one, traffic is interesting. I say that can be not great, but it's beautiful. As we're flying in on the approach yesterday, and I took some cool pictures out the window of farmland right up against the city. Like when we talk about that rural-urban divide battle, I'm sure there's some really interesting conversations that happen among some of those people that are farming in the valley here. But it is a very high, sometimes not always a talked about area of Canadian agriculture, highly productive, high-value crops. Obviously, dairy and poultry have a presence here. But also you think about in British Columbia, the fruit and vegetable industry. I think there's 70, I could have this wrong, but I think there's 70 different commodities being produced in British Columbia. 70, I think is the number. Is anybody nodding their head? Do I have that? What's that? 200? Whoa.
You were way off.
Can you believe? I was way off. Okay, so don't believe anything that Shaun says going forward. That's amazing. And I think that would be maybe the highest in the country. We're going to say that. We're making that statement as getting thumbs up there, yeah. The agricultural promotional department here in British Columbia is like, yes, let's roll with it. Joining us right now is Stuart Person. He is with MNP. He is a great friend of the show. He is on the show often. Friday's Issues panel, other appearances. Stuart, it's great to have you here.
Thanks, Shaun. Great to be here.
So, okay, so a lot of people in this room know you. You're a board member at Farm Management Canada. What do you do at MNP?
Okay, well, at MNP, I'm the national leader for our crop services industry group that we have put together. So basically, I head up all things plant-based, coast to coast in Canada. I'm a CPA by trade, so I also do some accounting from time to time. And yeah, I spent the last 5 years overseeing all of our agriculture, but passed that torch on to Marvin in Lethbridge now, and now I can focus just on the plant-based activity.
Nice stuff. Okay, well, it's great to chat with you again, Stuart. Now, how long have you been a board member at Farm Management Canada?
This is my third year, I believe, right, Heather? Yeah. Third year.
We're having to the audience is really participating here, trying to help us out with our fact checks. It's very good.
It's so much fun that time just flies, right, Heather? So yeah,
that's what all board members say on any board you've ever been on. Really? Okay, so what are some of the cool things that Farm Management Canada does? Because I think this is an organization, honestly, that needs more. It needs more pump. More people need to realize some of the great things that are happening coming out of this organization. Talk about some of the things that are going on.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a number of different things that we're working on, all built around the promotion of good farm management practices. I would say I could start, I guess, by some of the educational stuff that we put on. So we do some educational work around financial literacy. We do some stuff around succession planning. So you might have seen some of the seminars that have been put on both virtually and in person around those topics. We're doing some work around risk management planning as well, and what that means in terms of that component of business planning. So that's some of the stuff we're trying to engage directly with industry on. In some cases, we're doing that on our own, and in other cases, we're partnering with different associations across the country that want to provide that to their membership, and we provide them with a platform to do that that's kind of ready to go for them and makes it easy on them. So
I think across a number of different topics, one of the challenges that agriculture has is our greatest strength is the diversity and all. We just talked about the 200 commodities produced here in British Columbia, and then you look at what's going on in the prairies, in central Canada, Atlantic Canada. There's a lot of diversity. You get to travel the country, you see it, okay? When we're trying to apply policy, or we're trying to apply even, say, farm management learning, everybody's at a lot of different stages. There's all shapes and sizes and different things being done. It's actually, it's really kind of difficult to make it all happen, to try to move that needle, because so many people are starting at a different spot. We know there's gaps.
Yep.
But how do we move the needle with so much diversity?
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree with that statement, and I think a lot of our role is to promote the concepts. So promoting the concept of, for example, risk management planning. We could pick on that one. Yeah. Getting out and explaining to people the importance of risk management planning and what it can do for you and what are all the benefits to doing that. In those sessions, for example, we're not going to do a risk management plan for you, because every farm in Canada is going to their risk management plan is going to look something different. And especially when you have 200 different commodities you're producing, you're not going to have the same risk management plan for a blueberry farm than you're going to have for a dairy farm. So, I think our role is more on promoting the concepts and getting people into that mindset that this is important and I should be doing this. The next phase to that is going out and actually doing it, which generally would go outside of the scope of what we're doing, and you'd have to start looking for a professional to help you with that.
Well, actually, you bring up risk management plans. I thought I'd pull up some data, because you and I did this together. RealAgriculture Studies and MNP did it. And we asked farmers, what do we have here? Do you have a formal risk management plan in place on your farm? 39% said yes. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
That's pretty low. Especially considering we asked people how they look at the year that is upcoming. I'm doing this on the fly. When it comes to the upcoming year, so this is for 2024. Okay, this is prior to, this is in the spring. 76% said this year, 24 was going to be more risky than 23. Yet, we identified that, because I think true, like commodity prices sliding, input prices being sticky, I'll agree with that. It is more risky. At the time, interest rates were higher than the year prior. But we don't have that's not turning into a risk management plan. I think that's in the area where an organization like Farm Management Canada comes in.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's interesting. Myself being a farmer as well, we didn't talk about that at the start, but I do farm as well in Saskatchewan, so I know it firsthand. And then talking to our 20,000+ clients we have at MNP over the course of my career, I haven't talked to all of them, I will admit that, but the anxiety that's out there around, what happens if the weather doesn't cooperate, or you just talked about, the whole situation with the United States and what trade issues we might face there. There's all of these factors lined up that we can't control on a year-to-year basis. We can't control the weather. We can't control government decisions around policy and whatnot. And so, all we can control is if you're in a plant production sector, you can control what you grow. And if you're in a livestock sector, you can control, the health of your livestock and what you produce there. But you can't control all these other factors. So risk management is really putting a plan in place to say, how do I deal with all these things that I can't control? And I think it's so important to look at that. And you guys talked just before this session about land and, the price of land going up, and will people buy land or will they not buy land, and what's the confidence level of the industry. I can tell you right now that, even in times like this when, if you're in the grains and oilseeds business right now, you're probably a little pessimistic. Your data showed that on your study. But those producers who do a really good job of business planning and have a really good risk management plan in place that they understand are way more likely to still be buying land in this environment than those who don't, because those producers who with the plan understand what's my downside risk, where are my backstops, and if they understand that and they realize they have a good backstop in place, their confidence level is a lot higher in terms of making investment decisions.
Yeah, and I didn't show it, but because we didn't have enough time. But if you look at how the livestock sector feels about the year ahead, much more positive, right? So dairy for sure, ranchers, beef producers, they're feeling better about the year ahead because hey, those commodity prices have slid off, and cattle prices have been strong, and so there is differences across the sector as well. And you bring up a good point. With some challenging times brings opportunity. I remember, I've told the story before on the air, so I apologize, but I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we were talking about packing plants shutting down, and there's challenges, can't ship anything, and all these things were going on. And we're concerned about the prices and, ad hoc programming and all this kind of stuff. And I interviewed Dr. Jim Mintert from Purdue. And I was talking to Dr. Mintert about, challenge and what's going on. Oh, I was kind of like being a little bit, maybe running around with a chicken with my head cut off. And he says, Shaun, whoa. With this kind of environment brings opportunity. And this is where if you have a strong balance sheet, you have good free cash flow, this is a time where this is where the farm management actually really shows itself. And not just all of a sudden you start to think about, your income statement, and we got to pay attention to the numbers, honey, because they're not as good as they were last year. It's you've been doing it. You set yourself up systemically in your business so that you can really take advantage of maybe some challenging times that unfortunately maybe some of your neighbors who haven't been focused on farm management don't have the advantage of. So I think it's kind of that time right now.
Yeah, you're bang on. I mean, and the reverse is also true, where those who have a good handle on their numbers and understand what their situation is, they also won't make investments that they shouldn't make. So if it's not the right time to be buying, maybe it's the right time in the market to be buying, but if they can't afford it, they will be disciplined enough to not make that bad decision. Because it doesn't matter whether it's a good deal or not. If you can't afford it, you're going to put yourself in a bad financial position by buying something that you really can't afford to pay for.
Well, Stuart, this has been a lot of fun. We've got a farmer panel we got to get to. But first, before I let you go, I would always joke like, hey, are you wearing your MNP underwear today? But you were actually wearing MNP socks.
Yes.
That's pretty fun. Those are pretty sweet.
I'm wearing my Oilers underwear.
That's not very good. We'll end it right there, everybody. Stuart,
I do have to ask you one question.
What's that?
So Shaun is a huge Chicago Bears fan. You know what the colors of the Chicago Bears are?
It's
right?
Oilers, I know.
So you would be much better off to switch from the Flames to the Oilers, and then your colors would all match.
I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. I tried to switch out of being a Bears fan one year because it is a life of misery. My boys ask me all the time, Dad, why are we cheering for this stupid team? I'm like, guys, it's a commitment to misery. And if you've watched any Bears games the last few weeks, it's exactly that. It's unfolding like it always does. I can't switch. I'm a diehard till the end. Refrigerator Perry.
Being a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan, I feel your pain.
Yeah. Except we don't wear watermelons on our head. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got a great farmer panel lined up, and we're going to talk about farm management and how their outlook for the year ahead. You're listening to RealAg Radio, broadcasting today from the Farm Management Conference in Abbotsford. Meet new Husky Pre-Herbicide, Koch's Apex Predator. Fight back against the toughest broadleaf weeds with Western Canada's first Group 27 herbicide for pre-burn and pre-emergent applications in cereals. A potent addition to Roundup, Husky Pre delivers fast-acting and reliable early-season control of broadleaf weeds, including resistant species. If you're tired of all bark, no bite with your cereal pre-burn, ask your local retailer for Husky Pre-Herbicide today. Always read and follow label directions.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word absolutely the best part of my day.
If you're serious about agriculture, RealAg's got you covered.
For over 10 years, we've listened to and shared what producers have to say about everything from policy to agronomy from coast to coast.
Keep up with the latest in Canadian agriculture at RealAgriculture.com through daily newsletters and check out our YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us in the RealAg community as we continue to cover and serve North American agriculture.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147 at Sirius XM. Like I've been saying, we're broadcasting today from the Farm Management Canada AgX Conference in Abbotsford, British Columbia. We've learned a lot of things here so far, like British Columbia produces 200 different commodities. How about that diversity? A lot of interesting stuff happening. Don't get out here enough. I really have been thinking about that the last couple days. Just so much happening in agriculture in the province of British Columbia, and it's great to be here again at the AgX Conference. Okay, we got our farmer panel here today. I'm looking forward to this because we don't always dive into these commodities. We got three really cool stories, unique farms, and they're going to kind of talk about that today, and we'll talk about some of the challenges ahead and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be fun. I've promised them that at least. Up first, now, Stan Vanderwaal, Rainbow Greenhouses. Stan, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I feel like you're kind of a local too, because Rainbow you have a facility out in Iron Springs, which is not too. I actually grew up in Iron Springs, so I feel like I kind of know you.
Yeah, this is definitely home. Yes, it's a little colder, a little more windy out there in Iron Springs.
Yeah, probably when you first built the greenhouse out there, you're like, whose idea was this? This is way colder than Abbotsford. Tell us about the operation.
So we're flower growers, our key business. We sell to customers like Home Depot, Costco, Walmart, IKEA. So the tough guys, I guess you could say. So it's all about negotiation. It's about trying to understand where the market's going, and there's tons of opportunity.
What kind of flowers?
So right now we're shipping poinsettias, the red things that you put in your house, but also a lot of tropical plants, all the stuff you put on your patio.
Yeah. How did you... history, how did you get into that? Because that's just not, hey, all of a sudden we're going to build a greenhouse and Home Depot is going to be a customer.
So I grew up as a kid, dairy farming and cattle and crop farming in the Midwest, born in New Jersey. Moved into Canada in 76, and Dad decided enough of washing cows in the mud because it rains in BC. So he decided to get in the flower business, so here we are. I'm the oldest of 10 kids, and my wife and I started the business 39 years ago now.
Wow.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Family members involved in the business still, or?
Now we're into succession planning.
Oh, fun.
We're actually in the final stage, so we're probably on the back third of it. And so we've got 3 of the boys actively participating in the business right now, so we're moving into what we call family trusts. And it's continuing.
Good for you. That's a success story, because not all farming operations have success stories to tell. My family farm is a tragedy. So congratulations that you're on the good side of it. Also joining us here today is Sache. Okay, Sarah, tell us about your farm.
I'm a dairy producer here in the Fraser Valley. I actually farm right next door to, I think, Stan's original greenhouse. So,
really,
we farm about 180 acres, about 100 acres of corn for the cows, 80 acres of grass, milk about 161 today, I think. And I farm with my husband and my brother-in-law. So.
Oh, cool. Okay, and how long have you been at that spot?
They've been like their family since the early 70s. I am a farm import, so married into this, and I spend a portion.
Did you just say you're a farm import?
Yeah. I'm a communicator in the ag world.
Okay.
But I married into the dairy farm. I manage the heifers to 1 year, basically, and then I spend a lot of time in the industry. I'm a director of BC Dairy and Dairy Farmers of Canada as well.
Well, good for you. Okay, and I was on your website earlier. You've got, I was snooping and seeing what's going on here. Got to do some espionage. And you've got robots too, right? How long have you had those?
We installed the robots, I think, 2015, so 9 years. So we're just looking at potentially adding one next year. So they're working great.
Made a big difference?
Oh, yeah.
What is the biggest difference?
I would say the production of the animals. What they can do in a situation like that is very much different when they're able to just come and go as they want. You can really focus in on how you feed them, what you do, and spend more time on that side of the management.
Yeah, I think a lot of people outside of dairy, when they hear about robots, they think, well, you don't got to milk them anymore. But it's actually, you're still in the barn. At least that's what I've heard a lot from dairy farmers. And it's the plethora of data that you get off of that robot that allows you to make, like you said, production decisions going forward that is really, I think a lot of people don't understand.
Oh, this is the big drama on the farm today when I left this morning because our rumination is not working. And we are into 2024 corn, so for 3 days. And we don't know how it's going with the cows because the data's no good. And that is big drama on the farm. Nobody's in a good mood. So
you're like, I'm going to town.
Yeah, see you later.
I got to do this panel with this radio guy. Also joining us here today is Campbell Woike. Is it correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Now, Farmer Ben's Eggs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so tell us about the farm.
So I'm a third generation egg farmer from Vancouver Island. I farm along my mom and dad. Our farm was started in the early 80s by my grandpa, Farmer Ben, which is what our wholesale company is named after. Yeah. Lots of people ask that. Unique about our farm is we produce all our eggs and we also market and distribute them all ourselves. So the whole process is done around the farm. So from raising a pullet to putting it into a lay barn to delivering the egg to the grocery store where we do the whole thing.
So who's your customer? Are you retailing through a grocer or are people coming by and they're just buying eggs?
We sell to schools, hospitals, Sobeys, Save On Foods, lots of local grocers on Vancouver Island. We're lucky to have that, so we deal with quite a few locally owned grocery stores.
Yeah, and I was on your website too.
Okay.
Nothing's getting past me here. You market them as antibiotic free, like you have some labeling that you use too, right?
So hormone and steroid free, antibiotic free. We offer a few different product lines. We've got a veggie fed egg, so there's no animal byproducts in that. We've got free run, free range, some enriched colony housing we just put in a few years ago, and we're looking at doing another building of that soon.
Okay, I'm poultry stupid. What is that, what you just said?
So Egg Farmers of Canada has set a goal for 2035 that Canada will be cage free.
Right.
So enriched colony housing is what we feel best for the bird. They've got scratch pads, a nest box to go lay, a private area to go lay their egg. There's perching in it as well, and fewer birds, so more space for them.
You have games and stuff for them to play too, like things like chicken games.
I'm sure they play their own games in there. Yeah.
Right. You think people have like a pet. I'm not going to say mouse, but I'm thinking of like a hamster. They got like different wheels and stuff.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
They're happy. It's about them being happy. If they're happy, they're producing more.
For sure.
It's good for your bank account as well. You don't need to worry about that with flowers.
No, we sing to them and they perform as well.
You sing to the flowers? Yeah. Okay, that's good. I like that, Stan. Okay, we got a great farmer panel here. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to get into some of the issues and find out what some of the farmers' challenges are as they embark on the end of 24 and into 2025. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
Joining me today, Mike Schaefer, Field Sales Manager with New Seed. Why should a grower in the upper Midwest be looking at adding the omega-3 canola production system to their lineup?
From a program perspective, we've got delivery windows, which growers ask for. They want to have more control on when they bring their bushels in. There's premiums associated with each window. There is a 10-bushel act of God on this contract. The act of God does not exist a whole lot anymore. We've got an early commit program where you pick up $1.50 with an ITG signed up by December 5th. We really appreciate our grower base, and returning growers will pick up another $1 a hundredweight. We've got a crop input incentive anywhere from $15 to $20 per acre, depending on the amount of acres that you do it. And that is a check back to you during or shortly after the growing season.
Growers in the upper Midwest, where can they go for more information?
A quick Google search, omega-3 canola. There's a box there that you can get an interest form filled out, and then that gets fired off to us FSMs, get you in touch with the right people.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Thanks a lot for joining us here today. We got a great farmer panel. We're at the AgX meeting in Abbotsford, British Columbia. It is the Farm Management Canada National Meeting. And it is great to have everybody here in the audience. Well over 250 producers are here today, taking part and doing lots of learning. There's going to be some great stuff on leadership this afternoon. It's great to see Kelly Dobson from Leadership here today. He does some great work. There's some really, really key stuff that's going to be discussed here throughout the week, and it's great to be a part of the agenda. We got a farmer panel. We got Stan Vanderwaal. He is with Rainbow Greenhouses. They do flowers or produce flowers. Sarah Sache, dairy producer in Rosedale, with husband Gene. Is that correct? I got that right, see? And Campbell Woike, who is, his company is Farmer Ben's Eggs. That was your grandfather, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
So how did he get started?
So Farmer Ben came to Canada after the Second World War, and he worked his way through Ford as a mechanic. He had a client come in, and he was an egg farmer, and every time he was in, he would tell Farmer Ben about egg farming and that he should get into egg farming. And eventually, Ben decided to buy some land and get started with egg farming. And eventually, we purchased the farm off of the friend that told him to get into egg farming when he wanted to retire. So then in the early 90s, my dad wanted to join him on the farm. So that was when they had the idea of creating the brand Farmer Ben's and buying a grading machine and processing all our own eggs.
Yeah. It's a great idea. It's a cool idea because it's got some kind of resonates with like history. Like I think it would resonate with the urban customer for sure.
For sure. Yeah, people recognize our brand on Vancouver Island. It's very distinct. So
that's nice. Okay. Now, I think one of the things that's underappreciated is where your customers are. So on the eggs and flowers, it's different. You're selling through a grocer, which is different. Like a lot of our audience is selling to like their canola to a grain company, or the corn to like an ethanol plant, or cows to a packer. The milk truck shows up at Sarah's place, but selling to a grocer is it's got to be a little bit different challenges. Is it, Stan, or like how do you view it?
Yeah, so the big thing is the grocer. We just did presentations last week at Home Depot in Ontario. A big part of what we're presenting is market trends. What's going on? They want us to be the expert in terms of where the market's going, what's going to be popular next. Often they talk about what's the next $1 million SKU. So it's all about just saying how we're going to drive dollars. You talked about transactional a little bit earlier. And I would say these retailers are very based on transactional. What's going to drive transactions? That's the key word.
How are you going to cut your costs? Do it for less?
No, they're always focused on that. Of course, I'm focused on getting more, but they're looking at how we're going to drive more sales. How do we get comps over last year?
Okay. Sarah, from your perspective, do you identify with any of that, or like it's a little bit different for dairy?
Yeah, I think that's what was super weird to me when I married into a dairy family. You put the milk in the truck, it leaves the farm, and you're like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
So that's how I became more involved in the industry and what happens with it there. But I would say on our side, it's the processors ultimately that we're having the relationship with them. What are they looking for? What do they need to have producers do on their farms to give their consumers the confidence to purchase products that ultimately come from us but aren't really being direct sold from us to the end buyer?
So Sarah, earlier I had on the board, I showed in our RealAgri studies data, biggest concerns that farmers across Canada have for 2025. And there was commodity prices, input prices, weather, and equipment prices. Do any of those surprise you, or would you have something else in that list?
I think all of those. I think for dairy specifically in British Columbia, cost across the board has been a huge deal for us. We're supply managed. We're in a national system where the price is the same, but we're an extremely high cost environment. So in BC, we've really been having to work within the national system to figure out how we're going to deal with that.
Okay, so stupid question for everybody listening. What makes your cost different than others? Land costs for sure.
Yeah.
That's easy.
There it is.
Yeah.
Plus interest and grain and all the other things that people are buying. But when you pair that together with the land cost here, the consolidation that we basically have these wee little areas of land that we need to pump a whole bunch of stuff out of in a short time. All of those things together are creating a definite cost challenge for dairy in British Columbia.
What does land cost here?
Stan would know better than I do.
Well, it's dropped a little bit in the lower mainland. Thus, we feel land prices are dropping in the Fraser Valley. Chilliwack example, 3 years ago, bought a piece of land, paid $138 an acre, with 3 zeros behind it. And a piece of land right across the road, nicer piece of land, was for sale for $89,000 an acre, literally a month ago.
Wow.
So that's, and I would say that has a lot to do with what Sarah's talking about, the carrying cost of
There's
land.
no buyers in the market.
Because it's also hard, like you get that one piece of land, but it's hard to expand past that, right? Is that a factor?
Yeah, it's a huge factor right now because ultimately for producers, we're having a lot of positivity in the dairy industry in British Columbia now. There's a lot of opportunity. There's likely going to be some growth, but producers are strapped and are trying to figure out how they're going to navigate growing their businesses in the context of having been very, very challenged in their business side for the last number of years.
Wow. Okay. So all of a sudden that land in Saskatchewan's looking a little bit cheaper.
We're coming, Ian.
Yeah. What about on Vancouver Island?
Vancouver Island, the land price is around $70,000 an acre, so a little bit lower than the Fraser Valley, but we're full, so it's okay. There's no room over there.
Stay out. I was actually in Victoria in the summer or in September and stayed at the Empress Hotel, that is wonderful. That's a cool hotel on the island.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. Risks. What are the risks to your business right now, Stan?
I would say, so for us, our biggest single cost is labor. As one line item, labor is 28% of everything we do. So I would say our biggest risk is around availability of labor. And the second thing is getting the right people in and then thinking about what I call a cultural shift in terms of how we look at how we do things. So a constant innovation to improve rather than saying, we've done it for 30 years like this. Why can't we keep it up? Our world's changing. Sarah mentioned data. Big deal. Data is going to change the game 100% for us in the future. Data is going to be how we fine tune the business. Data is going to be how we measure productivity, how we're getting things right. If I look at our sales point of view, we have awesome data on sales. So we track everything. We know exactly what's going on. We know why customers buy, why they don't buy, and we know where the opportunities are. But when we look internally, operationally, it's our biggest challenge.
What was your labor cost?
28% of sales.
I love right there. He knows the percent. You probably know down to what decimal point. But
0.6 last month.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So curious, interested in Campbell. When you're selling, so we're talking about technology and data. You're marketing Farmer Ben with a certain brand. Are the customers accepting if you're using all that technology in the back, and you're talking? Do those things resonate with your customers?
I would say our customers are, going back a year ago, I think we had a conversation with Stan, my mother and me, and we were talking about how do we get more customers and how do we expand into a new market. And Stan said, it's really important to look after your current customers, focus on that and grow with them. And that's been something that we took that message from Stan, and we've been able to grow with our customers, expand our shelf space in the stores that we're at, rather than going and trying to make a new relationship, work on the ones that we have. Explaining the technology on the farm to the customer, explaining our story that we're family owned, we're family run. That's really important to our customer.
Yep.
And I think Vancouver Island is a unique character. Everyone really loves to support local. I think the pandemic, really pushed people towards that. When what's on the shelf, it's the local products. So, yeah.
So, Sarah, you mentioned some of those challenges, but think about the year ahead, because I showed future farm financial performance, and if you look at the livestock sector, beef and dairy, more optimistic. So, and there's reasons for that. Feed costs, and cost of goods is one of those. For you, what are you optimistic about the year ahead about?
Well,
Lots of things, actually. I'm really excited that we're getting better processing support in Western Canada. So there will be some growth in dairy in the province, which we haven't seen in quite a number of years now. There was a period where we kind of jumped forward and had a bunch of growth, and then there's just been nothing. It's been pretty stagnant for a period of time. So it's really exciting to be able to think about growing the business, to look at doing that. But I think we kind of just stagnated for a period of time and chose to invest that time in being way more efficient. So we drove all of our efforts into efficiency. Like, okay, we can't grow. What can we do right now? Like you've mentioned earlier, what's in our control? And so we really worked on, how many animals do we need to raise? Exactly what are we going to feed them? How can we make the feed better? How can we make the animals better? All of that. And so we're really at a precipice of where we're really ready to drive the business forward. But I think the question would be maintaining that efficiency while embracing growth.
Okay, but and with the differences in the Canadian dairy system with supply and management, when you're looking at those efficiencies, are you looking at how do we produce the same amount of quota with less animals? Is that how you're looking at efficiency? Because you're not rewarded or paid for more production.
Yeah, well,
unless you're going to buy more quota.
Yeah, more production per animal, less feed cost, higher herd efficiency, those sorts of things are things that we look at.
Yeah, when you talk to people outside of dairy, another underappreciated point is you've been reinforcing the feed costs. Like it's like one of those things that when I talk to dairy farmers, it's mentioned all the time is the production costs for sure. Okay, we've got more to cover here at the AgX conference with Farm Management Canada. We got a great farmer panel. We have one more segment to do, and we'll do that when we come back. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
One of my favorite things to do is to do live recordings of RealAg Radio. Really appreciate AgX and the Farm Management Canada group for having us back here this year. Really do appreciate it. It is a lot of fun. It is such a great group, energetic about the future of farming in Canada, and it's great to be a part of this event. So we got a great farmer panel here this afternoon, and they're doing a great job sharing some of their personal experiences and their stories. We've got Stan Vanderwaal, Sarah Sache, and Campbell Woike. Okay, now, during the commercial break, we asked the audience what question they would ask, and it was a good one that came out. It was, what advice would you give to, I will say, a young farmer or somebody that wants to start out in the industry? Campbell, do you want to take that first?
Sure. I would say my advice would be to get involved and come to events like we have today and tomorrow. Coming out, meeting people is the best way, to make those connections and help grow your farm. So that would definitely be my piece of advice is AgX and similar conferences. So,
okay. Sarah?
I would say stay curious. I came into the industry and didn't know anything about it. I've been asking questions ever since, and that's been going for a long, long time. So I've really stuck my neck out there to get involved, to try to communicate, ask questions, and be part of the general fabric of agriculture. I think there's a lot of us out there, and all you can do is improve from being more networked and more involved in community and more connected to other people. Every time I go somewhere, I learn something new. I take it back to my farm, and it makes the whole business that much better. So I think just asking questions, being interested, and hanging in there is what I would say.
Instead?
Yeah, put a little different twist to things. One of the things that I think is really important is look at what the opportunities are and try to focus on the items that'll give you the best return is what I would tend to look at. And I say evaluate the risk. Make sure you understand the risk. What's the upside potential? What's the risk side? We heard about risk a little bit before, but I think it's really important to know what risk you're taking on because you're just getting started. You got limited dollars to work with, and you want those things to work for you. So ultimately, look at the opportunity, measure it, do a good risk assessment, and go for it.
Buy land.
There's tons of opportunity, by the way.
Yeah, there is a lot of opportunities. I think we were talking earlier about with Stuart when he was up here, the diversity of the industry. There is a lot of places to be able to operate within this great umbrella of agriculture. Like it's not like if you're starting an airline tomorrow, which I would not advise, as Spirit Airlines is going through bankruptcy. But if you're going to start an airline, you kind of know what that's going to look like, right? If you're going to be an oil and gas driller, you kind of know what that's going to look like. Well, if I said, I'm going to be a farmer tomorrow, we may have an idea in our head what that looks like, but that's pretty non-descriptive. There's if
you're a good strategic manager, you could be a good farmer.
Exactly.
That's the thing, and I don't think people go into it thinking that because strategic management is not something that we're commonly thinking about when we think about being a farmer. But more and more, we're going to need that, I would say. So if you're interested in running a business, there's opportunity for you in agriculture right now, whether you know anything about animals, plants, or otherwise, or not.
Yeah, I know more and more farmers that are, young people are coming back to the farm and they did not take, I went back to our family farm with a finance degree. I didn't come back with an agronomy degree. I took a bunch of ag econ classes and finance. I was a finance major. It served me well in this job. I was the most unmechanically inclined farm kid known to history. I will challenge anybody in that battle. But I think there's lots of kids, before it was, you had to take heavy duty mechanics. There's some pointing going on here that I may have a challenger. We'll maybe have to talk later. People would take a heavy duty mechanics course or take agronomy, livestock sciences, and all of that is great. We need those skills, but there are some other skills too that you can bring back to the farm that are maybe a little bit different in some cases than I got a welding certificate, which is fine. But strategic business planning, I think, should be more a component of courses people taking ag degrees. That's my thought. Fair?
Yeah, just comment on that. I think one of the things that we often think is a farmer just does it for the love of farming. So people ask me and just say, you must love flowers. Bottom line, it's just a commodity. It's just what I happen to be doing. But the real thing, the fun part, is the managing the business. It's looking at the opportunities. It's managing opportunity, risk, financials, every part of it. I've been in every part. But I love every part of it, and I don't particularly love flowers. It just happens to be what I do.
Okay, but to be fair, because a lot of times we get into this, is it a business or is it a lifestyle? That debate comes up a lot.
Should be a business today.
Okay, Sarah, you agree?
I would.
Yeah,
yep.
Campbell?
I would say so, and you have to be passionate about what you do. I love eggs and chickens. That's something that I care about.
More so than Stan loves flowers.
Yes,
apparently.
I think so.
Yeah, but you can appreciate the lifestyle, but it's a business, right? I think I think that's kind of the attitude that you should have.
With increasing complexity, though, that's the only part I would throw on there. Like in my business, my husband is more the crop guy, my brother-in-law is the cow guy, and I take care of the business of running a farm. And that is not something that I think everybody's set up for. But as we increase the things that you have to do in terms of on-farm verification, those types of things, you need somebody actually spending their time being interested in that side of it.
Campbell mentioned passion, and I think that's 100% correct. You can't be into farming or management of farming without having passion. But you got to have passion in anything you do. So it's the same for everything. Passion is what gives you the energy to pursue something.
Oh, this is one of my rants. I agree. I think one of the issues that agriculture does all the time, because we just appreciate when somebody wants to be a part of this really warm, great club that we have. I see this all the time. Somebody outside the industry is applying for a job. They'll say, I have a real passion for agriculture. And I've started to say this, I don't care. I want you to have a passion for the job that you're going to be doing. Like if you could be an ag accountant and passion for agriculture, who cares? You have to have a passion for accounting right? And I think too many times we're sort of sidetracked by someone's giving us a little bit of love. That's a whole other story. Policies. Campbell, what policies, positive or negative, as we wrap up here quickly, are impacting your operation?
I would say, as we talked a little bit earlier about the change in the U.S. government, that would be something that as egg farmers in Canada we're nervous about. We already have 6% of our market share is U.S. eggs.
Yep.
With Trump coming back into power, that we think is going to be back on the negotiating table. Bill C-282.
Yep.
That would be. Yeah, it would be really great for egg farmers if that was passed, and I don't know if we're there yet, but I would say that's something that we're concerned about for policies, giving up more of our market. It's, I'd rather produce the eggs than give up market and have a financial, sorry, we gave out your market, here's something to cover that. I'd rather farm it than farm the mailbox.
Yep. Okay, Sarah?
Yeah, what he said. Supply managed kids are sitting down here. But I think, we have to watch for what happens. Stan.
Stan's getting itchy.
He's like, no, free market. But yeah, I think that side of it. But we could talk about all kinds of environmental things and carbon tax and all of that. Those are all challenges for us that we'll need to navigate as we go forward, like any other business in the country.
Yep. Stan, how about you?
Policy. Where do I start? So policy can be a pain in the you-know-what once in a while. We need good policy as farmers. And I think the key thing is we need policy that is foundational for supporting farmers being successful, not policy that backstops them because they may not be successful. So I think farmers are pretty innovative. Farmers know what to do. We see the optimism. They're innovative, they're willing to take risk in that, but we need good policy. So if bad policies are going to be put in place, they're going to have more mental health issues, and it's going to give less farmers opportunities for the future.
But he's not talking about 282.
Yeah, we'll talk about 282 when the show's over. I got some thoughts. But I think that the trouble with policy a lot of times is it's kind of out of our control, but it impacts us at the farm gate. Right, and that's kind of where some of the stress is. Whether 282 is an example of a policy. There's biofuel policies, environmental policies. I showed you a graph earlier where farmers are very concerned about environmental policies. Right, and there's smart environmental policy, and then there's oh my goodness, what is this? I can't even. I'm concerned I won't be able to use this product or that product, or fertilizer use that was mentioned earlier today. Those are all things that impact farmers really across the country, and we've seen farmers kind of get unified around speaking out against some of those policies that are sort of contrived somewhere in a back room of a pub in Ottawa. On too many pints of beer. Someone's got a great idea. Not a good idea. But that's the challenge that we have, is in keeping that voice loud to fight against some of those things. Right, Stan?
Yeah, and I think one of the key things to always remember is for a farmer to be successful, he has to be financially sustainable. That's one thing. Environmentally and socially. We need the people of the country to believe in us and to see that what we're doing is the right thing.
Great stuff. You've been an awesome panel. We are out of time, and we're in between this group and lunch. So we better wrap her up here. Stan Vanderwaal, thanks so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sarah, it was great to meet you. Fantastic. Great story of your dairy farm, and all the best to you in the future.
Well, thanks for having me.
And Campbell, you had a very cool story. I love that brand, Farmer Ben Eggs. I like that.
Thank you very much.
It was great to meet you. Okay, if you have any feedback on today's show, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms, or call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147. Big thanks to the audience here at AgX, the Farm Management Canada meeting. Big thanks to Farm Management Canada for having us back. And thank you so much, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio. Cheers, everybody.